What is going on, people? Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm going to wait a little bit for the room to populate just a tad because I know that Facebook doesn't always tell you when I am live. So I will give everybody a minute to get in here. Um, I think today I might end up making a case for how society is proving God exists. I think that I might end up having that shown out here, and I'll tell you, you'll see why. Um, I'd never thought about using the avenue of superheroes before, but the more I thought about it, the more it gave credence to my theory, and so we'll be talking about it. Um, Ironically, it's not just superheroes per se, although they uh, they are probably the biggest thing going today. So we'll be making sure we tackle all of that here in a minute. Just giving everybody time to get in. Hey, Casey. Hey, Kat. Deborah. Welcome. Um, make sure that everything is in the up and up. Um, you check on Rumble to make sure that it is live so that I don't miss you guys. I don't want to miss out on this one. There we go. All right. It's good. We are good. All right. Well, welcome again, Vicky. Yeah, welcome, Vicky. I do what I can. Um, Superheroes. I saw a couple of comments on the initial post that I made and to advertise for this live today. One comment said they're from false gods, and um, well, I'll just read the comments, and so we can have a better reference of how this all went. So they said, based on false gods, false gods, false gods, false gods, because at the end they always show the enemy peeping out of his little, like he never was terminated, and that's false. So my answer is false gods. Okay. So, hey, Linda, let's start here. Um, Superheroes have become kind of this staple on human culture, not just any particular human, all human culture. Um, Everything from um, superheroes that you can actually identify with as possible to the impossible, people like Superman, um, to even regular Joes like Batman, um, or even Green Arrow, Hawkeye. Small characters that have no actual superpowers at all, but they're immensely brave, or they can do some remarkable feats of human attributes and all that good stuff, right? So they've become something of the unattainable, and they've become something that we aspire to but can't really achieve, but hope one day that somebody could break that barrier and become a superhero. And the question came to my mind as to why, why? First of all, why a superhero? Why are they even a thing? If we go back to nothing but primordial soup and amoebas that became another thing that became another why superheroes? Why even have anything resembling a character that stands in the gap for us to protect and to save us? Why is that even in our minds? How is it that mankind has established for themselves a theory around humankind that there is some great danger that could possibly come upon mankind? And in doing that, we need one person or a group of persons to save us from this evil. Much less how do we come across this idea of evil and good to begin with. Like, you came from nothing, and if there is nothing, then there can't be good and evil. You don't just develop this intrinsic behavior mentally that's spread across everyone because it's not evolvable. The whole thing that they want to say is, look, evolution of thought and mind and higher consciousness. Where did you even get the idea of a higher consciousness coming from nothing? You have to, it takes a lot more faith for you to believe that from absolute nothing came consciousness, and not just consciousness, but consciousness that evolves to higher consciousness. But not just that, that it takes some who go to a higher consciousness on an evil level and those that attain it on a good level, and they battle it out to see who wins. And that somehow good should win over evil. Why, if it's only based on what you were blown up into creation was, if it just said me, why is it that I have to pick one over the other, or two, one is better than the other? Why is evil bad? Why call it evil? Where do you get that whole idea from? I know they translate it into comics and make it more palpable, and you've been told that yes, evil is bad and good is good, and you know all that. But why? Why do you even need it? Why did that even enter the mind of man if there is no creator who is intrinsically good and he can identify evil because it's not him? Why have this common characteristic amongst the big people who have attained something, enlightenment, that good is something to attain to and evil is not? Why do superheroes have intrinsically been accepted as the good guys and villains bad, and that the dichotomy between the two should be something you should accept as a way to live, and the other one not a way to live? I've been a fan of Superman too, and they had a series of events where Doomsday kills Superman while he's trying to save Earth. And he kills Superman, and in the storyline, they act as though all hope is lost because, of course, the symbol on his chest is hope and all that nonsense. So he becomes a symbol of hope. Then they get the brilliant idea to resurrect Superman. They resurrect Superman. Now, this will end up being a little bit crazy of a thought process. So see if you can follow me here. There is no God. We will believe that we decide right and wrong and good and bad, and we don't need anybody to save us when it comes to God. But you will create a cartoon character that embodies saving, embodies as a protector, and embodies somebody who comes back from the dead. And you make hundreds upon hundreds of books about them and films about them. You have kids and even adults that idolize them, and they're called fans. They're not called cultists, they're called fans. You have a society that is telling you that to follow and think that God is real is insane, but they come up with the same exact character of God in the form of superheroes, and that's okay. I have come to the conclusion that it is indeed a form of heresy. People might think that's a stretch and it's too far. No, no. They want all the attributes of God without the responsibility of honoring him. They want all the attributes of God to be ascribed to mankind so that they don't have to honor him. It's a pretty easy thing to see. If I want to act as though mankind is innately good, the best way to do it is to show mankind as the arbiter of all that is good, as well as the arbiter of all that is evil. I don't think that it's myth. Um, Here's why. Because there are principalities on the dark side. Okay. Um, and Satan does indeed want to be worshipped as though he is God. So is it a myth? I don't think so. Are gods like Zeus and Vishnu and Shiva, Thor, um, Hades, Ares, all of these crazy gods, are they mythical or are they of Satan? Are they spirits? Are they technically are they technically um, real? Not mythology, but real, that are passed off as though they are mythology, so that people will follow them. My take on Norse mythology is, like I said, I don't think it's a myth. I do not think any of them are myths. I do believe that there is a hierarchy of satanic and evil characters, spirits, that do embody these, what we call characters. Let's take let's take Zeus, for instance. Okay. Zeus was a Greek god and head honcho of all of them, but depicted as a very sadistic, self-centered, egotistical, maniacal type god. There wasn't nothing really um, inherently good about Zeus, other than he was a god that was over people. He wasn't particularly nice. He was powerful. Ironically, they tried to make him look like what most people would represent God to look like, oddly enough. But from his throne, he could dictate all the whims of mankind and influence them in ways that were bad. Sometimes good. He would interact with humans and have children with humans. Okay. Um, there are multiple stories about that. His sons were weird. Um, but when you think about what the premise of Zeus was, it was still in our world a controllable God. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Because we thought we came up with the concept of Zeus, we could dictate how and what he did. And the best way to do that is to call it mythology. If I call it a myth, I can change because a myth is just that, it's not real. So if it's a theory, I can adjust when I need to make him good, to make him bad, all hinging on my view of good and bad. So you have mankind struggling to accept that there are things outside of their control in the terms of gods. So their best bet is to adopt gods by calling it a myth and then transform it to change it to something that they can control. Not realizing that that whole concept was given to them by Satan himself. That whole concept was handed off to them by Satan. And it started way back in the garden. The whole idea of you can do what you want to do, don't worry about what the head honcho says. Create your own reality. You won't die. And the more I see, like, look at Gaia, okay, Mother Earth, the spirit of Earth, this Titan, and Kronos. They have this identity that they want to come up with of how they began and how they um, came about. So you have this fight between mankind of one thinking it's science, because I came up with this by myself. You have these people saying we don't know. It might have just blown up. And science says, well, you might have blown up, but we know exactly how you blew up and how you became what you became. And we're just expecting a further evolution of it. And then when you ask them, so how come you haven't evolved? Well, we don't know if the next evolution cycle is going to end up being one natural or one that we create for ourselves by moving to a different type of body structure. We don't know, you know. So that's how they try to produce for themselves a reality outside of what is true. They can't explain to you evolution because they know it's not true, but they have to create this wall that says, I can control the future. I can control what's going on. That's why you see the push to have artificial intelligence live in a different universe, um, superheroes from another planet. We have outside influences from a different planet, UFOs. I mean, you name it. The gamut is wide. But I do believe that the main problem with all of it, with all of that, is the lack of wanting to accept God as the head. They do not want that dominion. They don't want somebody who they cannot control, cannot oversee, cannot tell what to do to be real. Mankind started off selfish and we will end that way. Our demise will be selfishness. But we want to act as though our selfishness is self preservation, and we'll call it good. And if you try to not have me have self preservation, you must be evil. But you can't define for me what evil is or where it came from. But you do know it exists because you create characters that embody it. You have characters like Darkseid, Galactus, um, Doctor Doom, um, the Joker. You name it, any villain you can think of. And then you have ones that cross. Black Adam, he's bad, but he's not really bad all the way. Spawn, he's evil, he works for Satan, but at the same time, he loves mankind and he'll be willing to sacrifice a whole lot. He even goes against the devil who gave him his powers. That kind of mindset. All of it is in an attempt to make God irrelevant. Irrelevant. Um, technically they can't. This is why we push so hard for people to have a relationship. Because while the book can be manipulated, While the book can be manipulated, the truth of the book cannot be, because you don't have to you don't go to the book for the revelation of the truth. You go to the author for the revelation of the truth. You read it, you take what you read to the author clarifies it for you, and there you have it. So regardless of what man writes into the book, when you take it to the author, you don't have to worry about what the book says. Hopefully that makes sense to people. You don't I don't read the Bible to verify what God says. I don't. I read the Bible and then I have God verify what it says. Very important difference. I do not read the Bible to verify what God says. I read the Bible and then have God verify it for me. Because remember, He gave me access to Him directly. I don't need to stick my face in a book and leave it there and only hope that what I read I fully understand or my knowledge level is too low. I don't have to depend on that. I can literally read everything in the Bible, all of it, never go to school, because I can go straight to the author and ask him, what does that mean? What does it mean? When I read this, and they say it's about you, what does that mean? I don't need to go to a theologian. I don't need to go to a priest. I don't need to go to a pastor. I don't need to go to some seminary to find out what other people think that says and means. I don't need to do that. And you shouldn't be doing that. Don't be doing that. The Bible is not made for man's interpretation. This is why you have all these varied religions out there, because everybody thinks their view of it is right. I have access to the author of the books, not the publisher, not the editor, not the bookstore. I don't go to any of those people to find out what the book means. I go to the author. So it makes you wonder, why are why is mankind so dead set on needing saving? The Avengers, a threat comes to Earth. There's something on Earth that that bad guy wants. Either the death of mankind or the resources on Earth. Something attracts them to Earth. It brings them here. And when the bad guy arrives, a conglomerate of extraordinary human beings and some alien human beings join together, band together, and defeat this invading force, saving mankind from certain destruction. But there always is one guy that goes above and beyond everyone else to take that massive step more than everyone else. And he's revered higher than all the others. Some selfless act. Some selfless act. And we love that. But when we tell you we know somebody else that did it in real, that's unbelievable. Because you can't control what is needed of you after the saving. You see, after Earth gets saved by Superman and Batman, they usually tell you, the world will never know what you did here today. That's okay. I did it, and whether or not they know, it's okay. On the flip side, what he did, God did, he told people to go tell them what I did, and tell them what is required of them afterwards. Go tell them. Tell everybody. So I find it. Hold on, I see a question here. Why do Catholics believe they have to have Pope, Bishop, and confession? I couldn't tell you why they need to have that because we were told directly that that whole thing is gone. We are all priests now. We are all allowed to go before him, which is why I've never ever subscribed to the Catholic way of doing things. It's nonsense. It is, and I don't care if you're Catholic out there and you're listening to me. You're following a nonsensical religion. You want to know how I know it's nonsensical? Because you revere a man that's supposed to translate everything for you. You worship him pretty much like an on earth Jesus Christ. That is heresy at its highest. Okay? At its highest. Um, Waiting on the whims of one man to dictate your religion. He makes rules for the church. No. No, 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 nope, nope, nope. On that premise alone, you should rethink being a Catholic. That just that alone. Aside from all the other things that they do that have nothing to do with God, that alone should tell you, nah. Let's go one step further. Confess your sins one to another, not to a single human being. If I've wronged you, I go to you. I don't go to some priest in a booth where I can't see his face. Like he's acting like he is some god hiding behind a cloud. If you don't see that reference, then you're definitely not, eyes are not open to what they're trying to do to you. But I digress. Multiple characters have all the facets of God. Um, Multiple characters of the superhero world have facets and traits of God, but they don't want to identify them as that. They just identify them as good. Even the evil characters, even the evil characters, they give a measure of God's characteristics. How you may say, okay, a world needs ending, it goes to end the world. God can do that, not Satan. Just so you know, he doesn't have lifeline. He doesn't have that kind of power. So they try their best to get rid of the concept of God while keeping almost all of his characteristics. Get rid of the concept, keep the character. But you split the character up into multiple facets in different ways so that people never see the actual person. They see all his traits and they can ascribe it to themselves and to other things that they can control. Which is why superhero movies, superheroes are, in my mind, while entertaining, not going to doubt that they're entertaining, can lead one, if you're not wise enough, down a very, very dangerous path. People might say, oh, you're over exaggerating this. This is such a dumb analogy. Why would anybody follow superheroes? Look at cosplay, it's worship. Like I said, you take all of the facets of God and you split it up and you call it something else that you can control. It really is that easy. It's what they do. It is what they do. Be clear about that. I don't need God. I control my destiny. And they'll have superhero characters echo the same thing. You can do this. All the power is within you. You just got to dig deep enough. There's nothing you can't do. Meanwhile, the Bible says all things are possible through someone else. That's what we don't like because it's possible, but I have to relinquish my will to Him. Do you realize that the last measure of free will should be should be expunged when you accept God? That should be your very last use of free will. That sound crazy to you? Your very last use of free will should be in your decision to follow God. After that, you should have no more free will. What does that mean? You don't do anything without His say so. You don't move without Him saying, you don't jump without Him saying, you don't do anything outside of what He says. That should be your last measure of free will used. And you're stepping forward and saying, I'm following. You should not be able to pick back up your old life by free will and walk back the way you came. Because if you fully surrender, you need to give all of your will up. It's a tough one because as humans, we want control. We want the control. We want to be able to say and do all we want to do and still maintain life eternal. You see, we try to live a superhero life. We want to have all the benefits of God without the responsibility to God. The same way superhero heroes have all of the characteristics of God, but you never see them. They don't want the person of God, they just want his characteristics to control. We want all the benefits of God without his control, which is why he says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing. Now, what does renewing mean? It means to make to its former glory, its original state, to revert to, recreate. So, what does that look like? It looks like life before the fall. A renewed mind is a mind before the fall, before the implementation of will, before the rebellion. It also means that you're in complete communion. Complete communion. What reference do you want in particular? I can give you one. Give me one in particular. Yes, I am partially assuming that you've read the Bible at least a little bit, just a tad. Um, what exactly do you, what verse exactly do you need clarification on? What do you need it listed from? I'll read one for you, at least on the last one I mentioned with the renewing of your mind. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what is the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. That's in Romans 12:2. Okay? Romans 12:2. The only way you can do that is by having complete and clear fellowship and communion with God, right? Adam had that before the fall. So close indeed that he could hear him walking. Accepting him as the creator is not sufficient. I just want to let you know that. Anyone can accept him as a creator. That doesn't mean that they revere him as their Lord and Savior. And it's not even about getting to heaven. It's not even about getting to heaven. My goal, okay, this might sound weird. You shouldn't be a Christian because of heaven. You should not even want to be a Christian because of heaven. Heaven shouldn't even be your, how should I say this? We almost treat heaven as the ultimate be all and end all of the, that's our, that's our goal. That's the prize I'm chasing is heaven. Um, it's not. It's a location where we will be doing a certain thing that should be our goal. The thing that we'll be doing forever should be our goal now. Heaven is just that location without the distractions to do it permanently, forever, without any distraction. That makes sense. Heaven isn't the ultimate goal because of the location and what you'll be doing there and how many people you're gonna see and oh, I'll be free from this problem here. That is not why you should be following God. Sorry to tell people, it's not because of heaven. And it shouldn't be the fear of hell. If it aids you, fine. But if you maintain only a fear of hell, you're not focusing on the relationship with God. You're just keeping it there because you're afraid to go to hell. It's like being married, but you don't want to get a divorce because you've seen the dating pool and you don't want to get back into the dating game, so you stay married. You're not focused on your marriage, but you're not really leaving it either. Um, Again, accepting him into your heart and accepting him into, as the creator has zero to do with reverence to him as God. It- Okay, so trying to figure out the best way to break this down. He is not, say things like, okay, for example, you speak of we no longer have free will once we've given the life to Christ. There is a scripture, for example, that we are not our own, but we are bought with a price. Yes, yes, but I'm speaking. I get what you mean. Um, Here's why I normally don't give a scripture. Okay, here's why I normally don't. Um, it funnels people into one spot. I don't want you going to one spot in the Bible. That make that okay. I want you to pick it up, read it all the way through. When you come across it, it'll make more sense because it'll be in context. Um, but at the same time, I also want you to go to the creator himself, the author, and have him direct you to it. Um, because what that'll do, it'll encourage you to go talk to him about it. Okay. Um, anyway, as I was saying, but thank you for the input, Shy. Um, what was I saying? Anyway, I lost my train of thought now. I think I was answering Tanya's. Oh yes, heaven. That's what it was. Heaven is locational, and it's only worth anything because of who's there. Heaven is only worth what it's worth because who is there. Hell is only as horrible as it is because of the absence of the person that's not there. I shouldn't be afraid of hell because of fire. I should not be afraid of hell because of eternally burning and heat and that even that shouldn't be a fear for me. Does that sound weird? Um, and yes, baptism is a requirement. Sorry, it is. Um, it says it in there. Um, one must be born of water and the Spirit. Let's repent and be baptized. It says it. And in case you guys um, need a reference, it's in Acts 2:38. Okay, in case you need a reference point in honor of Shai, Acts 2:38. Um, people ask why. It's an outward expression of what took place on the inside. Besides that, he's asked you to do it, so just do it. Exactly uncommon. You fear hell because you'll be cut off from God. That's why people say they live on hell in hell on earth right now because you don't have the experience of God with you. And I mentioned last night that joy is there in the absence of happiness because it doesn't depend on a circumstance. It depends on the person you have. So the superhero idea is mankind's attempt to let one person outside of them save them from all turmoil while they still get to lead and live the life that they want. Superheroes are there to save their way of life, not to save them from sin or hell or death. A superhero today is there only as a crutch for man to continue being what mankind wants to be. That's not the case with God. They've taken all of the things that God did by saving mankind, blocking them from their enemies, being a defender, loving them, and they've relinquished mankind of the responsibility of honoring him, and they put something else in its place by having you honor man. And if we don't see that, we could fall into a very dark place, and many have, where you don't see the reason for honoring God. You don't have a logical reason for doing any of it because you have all the traits of God elsewhere. What do we need him for? For protection, I have a dog. For love, I have my wife and kids. Why do I need God? We want all of his characteristics with none of the responsibilities towards him. Hence the birth of superheroes. So yeah, it's heresy, but it's entertaining heresy. it's it's the kind of heresy that people love. They thrive on it. And I will tell you, I mean, I'm not saying that I have not indulged in cartoon characters. I've told you I have. Um, I just understand that they are not God. For as super as Superman is, he has a kryptonite. For as entertaining and wise and rich as Batman is, all of that could be gone overnight. For as fast as the Flash is, he can still trip. For as strong as Thor is, he's nothing without his hammer. None of those things apply to my God. He's unconquerable. He doesn't need a hammer, doesn't need a cape, doesn't need money, doesn't need a suit, and he doesn't have any weakness to kryptonite. He has zero weaknesses. And there is no bad guy that could take him out. Technically, if I want to have a superhero, I might as well just adopt God as my superhero. Like I could literally take him as my superhero and I would win every time. But the concept of a superhero still means that I don't need to follow in the requirements. This whole idea of a superhero, it does what it does because, and you don't have to do anything at all. It relinquishes mankind of changing. It relinquishes mankind of homage. It relinquishes mankind of changing his life. It relinquishes mankind of an end game because the superhero takes care of all that. Remember that Mariah Carey song? And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you finally face the truth that a hero lies in you. Innocent sounding song. Hero lies in you. All of it having to do with vain, vanity, myself, me. There's another one that was from the Spider-Man song. Now, many of you don't like the character. You don't like the band. You don't like these people, but you know the group Nickelback, right? They did a song called "A Hero Can Save Us." The very first line is, "I am so high I can hear heaven." I'm so high I can hear heaven. And that alone should tell you a whole lot about where Satan wants to carry you. And he says, "But heaven don't hear me. Heaven doesn't hear me. I'm so close. I can hear heaven, but heaven can't hear me." And they say, "A hero can save us, and I'm not going to stand here and wait. And I'm going to hold on to the wings of the eagle and watch as they all fly away." And then the second verse is, "Someone told me that love will all save us." And said, "How can that be? Look what love gave us." Now, who is love? I want you to see how subtle. They put this in a superhero movie. Listen again. They put this in a superhero movie. I'm so high I can hear heaven, but heaven can't hear me. Someone told me love would all save us, but look what love gave us. Listen to the next line, okay? Or hear the next line. A world full of killing and blood spilling. They have resigned in their heart that mankind is the only one that can save mankind, even though mankind is the one that came up with the concept of love, and love is the thing that gave you blood spilling and killing, but somehow man's going to save us. Hmm. I want that to make sense. Okay, just let that soak in for a minute. Mankind doesn't want God, so if there is no God, that we came up with the concept of evil. And if we came up with the concept of evil and came up with the concept of good, who dictates when the line is crossed? Who decides that line? And can you move that line? Obviously, they have. Murder used to be evil. Now you can do it to babies. You want to know why good can be called bad and bad can be called good? Because mankind believes they've created both. Again, they want all the attributes of God with none of the responsibility. So there. Therein lies the dilemma. Okay? Therein lies the dilemma. How how do you rectify the characteristics that we attribute to man to an omnipotent God? How do you do that? Do you want to know what relinquishing your will might look like? In Luke 22:42, Luke 22:42. If you are willing, take this cup from me, Father. Yet not my will, but yours be done. That is what you call relinquishing, fully relinquishing your will. Is relinquishing your will. Your free will goes out the door. Even Jesus was like, if you can take it. But if it's not, then it's up to you. Either way, it's your will. Whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do. Whatever I got to go through, I'm going to go through. It's not about me. It's not about what I want. I no longer have any say over this thing. I might want something, but I do realize my station. I know my place. I know my calling. I know what I'm supposed to do. As much as I might physically, mentally, man wise hate this, not want this, I am relinquishing my will to you because I am required to. And not just required, but love compels me to do it. It's why men are able to lay down and take a bullet for his family if someone breaks into the house. My self preservation will wants to kick in, but I have a different will that's working. And that will is to protect my family at all costs. So, mankind created a superhero that they can control, they can manipulate, they can change. No, they don't. Um, Just FYI, they don't. Um, yeah, you are to sin not, but it's not even a matter you are to sin not. Someone made this. We had this conversation last night. Corey and I had a conversation last night. He told a woman at the well, "Go and sin no more." Right? Um, I don't think people realize how profound that was to say to somebody. Just go and sin. It was very simple. Not didn't give a description of how. Didn't give her anything of what to do after that point. Just go and sin no more. Just go and sin no more. You guys realize how simple he just said it, like it was, nothing. Just go and sin no more. Why do you think he was able to say that and it be fulfilled? Or do you think he said that knowing that she could never do it just to be sarcastic? If you are a new creature, that means you have no more sin to offer, right? Okay. I look at the cross as a transition point. And I mentioned this before. I look at the cross as a transition point. You move from not being in the family, an ostracized person, sinful being, to passing through, being covered in the blood, and going in through a different life. You've left the baggage behind because that's where you're supposed to nail everything to the cross. Remember that. You're supposed to leave it all there. You should not be taking up stuff to bring through the cross because technically you can't. And if you end up showing in your life that you've brought something across, it probably means that you have not passed through the cross yet. It more than likely means that you have still been on the outside looking at the cross, being thankful for the cross. I'm not saying you're not, but never passing through it. Go and sin no more. Man, he's told multiple people that don't sin. That's it. You're done sinning, right? That's it. Why was he able to tell that to people? Because they literally had an encounter with Jesus. They had that encounter. That's a very good question. What does passing through the cross mean? Consider the cross a gateway, a door, if you will. And the entry requirement is that you cannot come in with anything but you, your desire to come to the cross. You can't bring anything. You can't bring your history. You can't bring your pain. You can't bring your stress. You can't bring your worry. You can't bring anything through that cross and through that door. You cannot be anything but empty when you come through that door. That's the requirement. Coming through that door with anything else is impossible. Literally impossible. Remember, he said, in him there is no darkness at all. At all. Which means that none of your sin can dwell where he is. And he cannot dwell where there's any sin. Right? Okay, good. So if you are living a life right now of either habitual or perpetual sin, I would I would venture to say that you have not gone through the door. You're standing at the door, appreciating the door, wonderful door. Man, that door will forgive me of all my sin. And you think that that is where it resides. And you struggle with this same sin because it's always before you. When you pass through that door, when you pass through that door, you leave that baggage behind you. You leave it behind you. If it were not possible, he wouldn't say sin no more. Now, people say, but remember, Paul said that the things I want to do, I don't do, and the things I want to do, I can't. The things I don't want to do, those are the things I find myself doing. He never said sin. Never said sin. He never said the sin I don't want to do. That's what I find myself doing. So again, all the things I'm saying, everything, literally everything I'm saying, your next job, your very next job after this is to do one thing alone. And that is to take everything I said, take it to the author, verify it, and live. You take it to the author, verify it, and live. Verify it. Verify it. You have access to the author just like anybody else. Talk to the author. Ain't no better way to understand the book. There's nobody on earth that will be able to read my book and explain it to me better than I can explain the book to me. It's my book. It's about my life. If anybody can explain that book to you, it'll be me, not the publisher, not the book salesman. Go to the author. Let me ask you a different question. So I'll read yours first. It's so easy to get hung up on the past when you've gone through it, but I do see a doorway and know that one does not need to hold on to sin. Is God a liar? Let me ask people that. Is God a liar? Because if he is a liar, then we can hold on to whatever we want to. But if he is not a liar and he says as far as the east is from the west, so he's taken our sin away, how in the world can you find your sin again? If he has really taken your sin as far as the east is from the west, how can you find your sin again? Hmm? How? If he nailed all sin of all mankind to the cross and he left the cross and you now live in Christ, how can you find your sin again? How? One of two things you can find it. You can find it one of two ways. You never left the cross to walk with him, or you never gave it up to him to take as far as the east is from the west. Those are the only options. That is the only way you, at this point, can still be holding on to sin. Really that simple. Either God is right and he never lies, or he's a perpetual liar and nothing he says has come true. There is no middle ground. No middle ground at all. You got to decide. Do you want to live the superhero kind of world where you decide what's right and wrong? You're the arbiter, and you get to decide how and when and who you save. You get to decide what traits of God you have, and you can do all of it without following any of his commandments. That's a superhero. But a child of God is way more powerful than a superhero. A child of God has way more access to a whole lot more powers than a superhero does. Anyhow, this has been rummaging through my mind for a long time, and I thought I would express it to you guys. And like I said, I want your input as much as possible. Um, but I also want to make sure that you know that you can take this to not a theologian, not your preacher, not your pastor, not to some random human being. You have the ability to take this directly to your dad, to your father, and have him clarify it for you. That's what I would suggest. Take it to God. Tell him, hey, look, I need to know if this is any of this has holds water. What's true, what's not. What's true, what's not. What's true and what's not. Okay? So we will be back this evening on Too Strong. Do not miss that one. It'll be a good one. Um, Today's show, if you haven't been to my page yet, um, will be about the Uber driver, I believe. So the driverless Uber. But it's not just about that. You know how we have a different take on things than most people do. So don't be surprised with the direction we go. Okay? Don't be freaked out by the direction we go. You don't get notified because no one needs to be knowing. Duh. That's what Facebook says. You shouldn't know. You shouldn't know. I try to say when I'll be live on Too Strong so people will know, but even then, people don't know. So the easiest thing to do would be this: if you go and uh, also get to my YouTube channel. Okay, if you're not following the YouTube channel, do that. And if you haven't followed my page on Facebook, do that too, because I think notifications are a lot easier to get on my page than they are on my personal Facebook. Um, Tell it like it is. Um, I'll try and bring it up so you can see it, what you're looking for. Um, pages. There we go. All right, switch now. I'll show you my Facebook page so you know what to look for. Okay, this is the Facebook page you want. Go up here and you can follow, and you'll get notifications right off the top. Okay, as you can see, I'm live there. It doesn't have a whole lot of traction yet, so um, just make sure you have at least all the pages followed, all the YouTube followed, my personal page followed, the Rumble followed, and you'll get a notification. Rumble doesn't really give a notification. But if I ever get shut down and everything else, that'll continue going. So just to be aware. Um, yeah, no problem. No problem. So, um, yeah, indeed, hit the notification bell and hit all, not just some, hit all on YouTube. It'll tell you everything. So, are you on the YouTube as well, Angela? Do you have the YouTube link as well? If you haven't subbed to the YouTube channel, you should. I post a lot of shorts on there too. So, okay, yeah. Make sure you have the notification all bell clicked, okay? Not just the notify, and it's the top black button, the black bell. Notify all. That's the one you want. So, um, it gives you a day later. That's helpful. That's that's super helpful. Can't can't get too excited about that one. That's immense right there. A day later, dollar short. Crazy. So, we'll see you guys tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern on Too Strong. We'll be on Too Strong today. Remember that. We get our channel back today. We're excited about that. And come Monday, we have something big. Okay. So, but you'll hear about that later today. And we'll have all weekend to marinate and get you ready for it. So, love you guys. Have a grand rest of the day. Um, again, take everything you heard. Don't just take my word for it. Never just take my word for it, regardless of how smart it may sound or how dumb it may sound. Never just take my word for anything. Take it to the author. Take it to the author. Take it to the author. I will be doing a little bit of a promo later on next week because I just started doing something new. Um, and if you guys want a way to donate to the program, the links are bottom there. But also, I will be having a way for um, you to do it without really doing it. It's a program where you can go get your daily supplies from it for work and school and home and all that stuff. And proceeds from what you purchase goes back to me. So it's a way for you to get what you're getting normally in your day-to-day life instead of going to the grocery store, and I get a percentage of it. It's kind of like and I will advertise for them and stuff like that. And so you can, we'll get a nice little system going so where you don't have to come up with anything extra to donate to the program. You can just buy your detergent and buy your perfumes and your supplements and all this thing from this place if you need it. And whatever you order, I get a kickback from. So it works out pretty good. So if you can't put anything towards the program itself via Cash App or PayPal, um, there's other ways, but that's coming next week. Um, so I don't have a link yet. I'm just prepping you for it. I'll be getting make sure I'll get that link ready. I'll have it on my page and starting the beginning of next week, so you can have it. Um, and I'm on chapter 5 of my book. I think I just finished chapter 5. Let me verify, or I just started chapter 5. Yeah, I'm now starting chapter 5. So I should have the whole book done by the end of next couple of weeks, and then I can submit it to for editing and pre-approval, and then it can come back and I can change the edits. And then the plan is to release it in September on the anniversary of my pop's dying and his birthday. And you can order early copies if you want early signed copies. I'll try and get that figured out, but I do want to have the release date of September 29th. So you can log that September 29th. Um, Trying to drop it at 1 a.m. It's very significant. Um, yeah. So I won't give you the book cover yet. It's going to be a good book cover, um, but it's going really well. The motivation to write is there, and when I sit down, usually a full chapter and a half will just come flowing out. So um, it'll be good. It'll be good, I think. So, we'll see you guys tonight. Love you guys. Thank you again for all that you do to help out with the program. Your support is immensely wonderful and appreciated. Um, and as usual, wisdom calls to you from the street. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.